he continued to pay her every month for 31 years until his death in 1996. To add insult to injury, his heirs continued the payments until Madame Calment's death. It is estimated that this deal netted her more than 3 times the value of her property. Near the end of her life, Madame Calment, by then almost completely blinded by cataracts, was visited on her birthday by President Chirac. After being examined by the president's personal doctor, she was told that a simple surgery could restore her sight. As a gift from France, she would be taken to Paris, have the procedure, and recover for as long as she would like at the president's mansion. Without missing a beat, she replied, "Thank you, Mr. President, but no, I've seen enough." She was, according to Chirac, a little bit the grandmother to all of us. Madame Calment is remarkable for both her longevity and spirit, making us wonder about the possible connection between how long we live and how well we live. Her life stands in stark contrast to many common assumptions and prejudices about aging. At age 65, she had only lived half her life. As longevity increases, how will we live in the decades past 60? What will our aging be like, and how do we keep our brains active and alive? Perhaps more importantly, how do we live our lives to optimize our later years? Before we begin our exploration, let's examine some of our assumptions. What is aging? How old would you be if you didn't know how old you are? Satchel Paige. We all share the experience of material things wearing out and eventually becoming obsolete. Our cars, clothes, and furniture start out as shiny new additions to our lives, but gradually become tattered, fall out of fashion, and get moved to the garage before their final journey to the trash. These everyday experiences become unconscious metaphors that shape our understanding of our physical and social worlds. Our common sense then guides us to believe that humans start out as fresh and desirable, reach their peak in young adulthood, and gradually decline into obsolescence. The more we desire the new and dispose of the old, the more this becomes the way we think of one another and eventually ourselves. It appears to me that consumer culture and our prejudices about aging are tightly interwoven. The media bombards us with messages of how bad it is to be slow, wrinkled, and out of shape. Older adults mostly appear in advertisements for arthritis, shingles, and erectile dysfunction, when not being told they need life insurance to avoid being a burden to their children. Given our present cultural values, it becomes self-evident that aging is undesirable and something to be avoided at all costs. Thus, we spend more money on plastic surgery, beauty aids, and diets than we do caring for the elders we will someday become. Few prejudices in current Western society are more powerful than those concerning aging. And although scientists strive for objectivity, they harbor the same prejudices and biases as everyone else, searching for what they unconsciously expect to find. Because so much of what was known about the aging brain came from the study of dementia, the assumption was that the story of aging is a tale of loss and decline. For generations, neuroscientists taught us that we are born with all the neurons we will ever possess, that critical developmental periods, once passed, were lost forever, and that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Because of all this, much of what I was taught in school about the aging brain was steeped in untested assumptions and outdated ideas. These assumptions were so pervasive that only recently have scientists begun to even look at the brains of older adults who are leading active and productive lives. Although it was known that new information could be learned throughout life, I was taught that brain development and neuroplasticity were synonymous with the study of small children. In fact, positive adaptive changes in the brain were thought to cease after childhood. Fortunately, we are no longer certain about any of these truths. For example, we know that new neurons do continue to grow in the human brain throughout life. And, as you will soon learn, the way that the brain processes information changes throughout life in line with traditional shifts in social expectations and responsibilities.